Right, what we're looking at tonight is one of the first conventional bids you actually come across. One of the first times you feel like a real bridge player when you start playing this. It goes from a normal card game with some crazy bidding to what really is crazy bidding. So far, in fact, I imagine, are finding the bidding the more difficult element than the card play. Now, this isn't going to make that easy, so you're just going to have to stay with me, okay? Now, this is one of what I would consider about 3, maybe 4 conventions that I would say are mandatory. Now, mandatory is a strong word because you can play bridge without any conventions, but this is one of the really, really critical ones. And this is why you learn it so early, because it's such an critical one. So what is a conventional bid? A conventional bid is when you bid something, 3 diamonds, 2 clubs, 1 spade, and it doesn't necessarily mean the suit you actually put on the table. So if you put 2 diamonds on the table, it doesn't necessarily mean you have diamonds. It has a message. So if you like, it's a coded bid. Now, what you have to do is you have to be very clear between you and your partner when this is in play, because you can't have 2 clubs meaning clubs at one stage and then meaning something else at another stage, because how will your partner ever differentiate? You would quite like it if you could bid 2 clubs with your left hand as one thing and 2 clubs with your right hand as something else, but you're not allowed to do that. So you've got to decide when to use this code and when to use natural bidding, okay? So firstly, I'll give you the problem and then I'll give you the solution, which is Stayman. So, if you take North's hand, they're responding to partners 1 no trump. I'm making the assumption that East-West haven't bid, because normally when you've got this many points, East-West don't have a bid. So, South's open 1 no trump. Now with North's hand, we've got 13 points, so we've got enough for game. Now prior to this evening, I would have said, whilst, albeit through gritted teeth, because I knew about Stayman, I would have said 3 no trumps is the right bid. There's nothing wrong with 3 no trumps because we've got a balanced hand, they've got a balanced hand, we've got enough points for game, bid game. There's no aspirations of slam because even if our partner's got 14 points, which is the most they could have, we only have 27 between us. So slam is a long way away, but game is not certain but very likely. So 3 no trumps is perfectly sound. Now if I appreciate I'm going to set this hand up to make it not work, but if I write on what could be your partner's hand, in theory, on the face of things, if you don't delve into things, it looks like you're in a reasonable game in 3 no trumps. You've got a losing heart, the ace, you've got a potentially losing club, the king, and diamonds you're just not going to bother with, because you've only got the ace. Now on the face of things, that's okay, you're going to lose sort of 1, 2, 3-ish, on the face of things. However, the downside to being the declarers is that the baddies get to lead first. So, East or West is most likely to lead a diamond because they've got length there. That's what you tend to lead against no trumps. So if they were to lead a diamond against our 3 no trump contract, eventually our ace is going to be dislodged after 1 or 2 rounds, whether you take it first or second. Then you're going to have to get rid of their ace of hearts because you need your hearts as tricks. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 certain tricks, maybe 6, 7, 8 if the club finesse works. We still need some tricks from hearts. So when we dislodge the ace of hearts, they're going to play lots of diamonds again. So when they let a diamond against your 3 no trump contract, they're going to get rid of your ace of diamonds, then you get rid of their ace of hearts, and then they go diamond, 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 however many diamonds they have. So 3 no trumps is going off on a diamond lead. The problem with that is that they're most likely to lead a diamond. So it's, yes, I've rigged it so that diamonds kill us, but the most likely lead is a diamond. So this 3 no trumps is much, much less than 50% chance of success, because the only chance you really have is if the diamonds aren't led, which is highly unlikely. So 3 no trumps is no good. However, a good contract, I appreciate this is after having seen the hands, a good contract is 4 hearts. Because 4 hearts, you're going to lose 1 heart, 1 diamond and 1 club like we thought originally. But when they lead diamond, 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 when they get back in, you can trump it. Because we have an 8-card heart fit. So when you have a 4-4 fit, you need a way of finding that out. Because if you have a 4-4 major fit, you need to be playing in that major to protect yourself against hands like this. There are some hands where 4 of a major and 3 no trumps will both make. And in that instance, it doesn't matter. It is still better to be in the major because you're safer, but it doesn't matter as much. But hands like this, you will go off in 3 no trumps and you will make 4 hearts. Unless something very weird is going on, like spades are 7-0 or something very strange. So we need a way of exploring a 4-4 major fit. Don't forget, if you bid a suit after 1 no trump, when it goes 1 no trump, if you bid any suit, 2 hearts, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, that's all more than 4 hearts. You need at least 5 hearts to introduce a suit. If you bid at the 2 level, that's a weak takeout. So 2 hearts is no good. If 2 hearts says I've got 5 hearts, go away. 3 hearts says I've got 5 hearts, choose your game. And 4 hearts says I've got so many hearts, I don't care how many hearts you've got. We're in this game. So all of those show more than 4 cards in hearts. So you need some method of saying, I have 4 hearts, do you have 4 hearts? Because then we want to be in game in hearts. If not, then we want to be in game in no trumps. Now, what we do is we sacrifice one of our weakness takeouts. We sacrifice a 2-level bid, only one of those 2-level bids. And we use that bid to explore a 4-4 major fit. So, unsurprisingly, we sacrifice a minor because we don't like minors. So when your partner opens 1 no trump, before tonight, 2 clubs would have said, I have lots of clubs, go away, I'm playing in 2 clubs, just like a normal weak takeout. Don't forget, you don't need any points for a weak takeout, you just need a long suit. Now what we do is we replace that with Stayman. Now Stayman was named after Sam Stayman, who was an American, but it was actually invented by a British person, so I don't know how he managed to get it so that it was named after him. So Stayman, 2 clubs, is an artificial bid. An artificial means I have not necessarily got clubs or not. We have come across that very briefly before when I talked about week 2s. I spoke about opening 2 clubs is artificial because opening 2 clubs is the best hand you've seen all year. So you tend to find the more and more you get into the bidding, the more and more we sacrifice clubs because we don't like them. That theme continues here. So 2 clubs as a response to 1 no trump, and seldomly 2 no trumps, which I'll touch on later. When you bid clubs as your very first response to your partner's opening no trump, we use that bid as Stayman. So you agree, basically, before you play, we are playing Stayman. That is a convention that is in force. What that means is you can't bid 2 clubs as a weakness takeout. So you lose the ability to play in 2 clubs. The upshot is that you can explore 4-4 major fits, because what 2 clubs as Stayman says is, do you have a 4-card major? It is a direct question, just like that. And your partner's response is more straightforward. They bid the 4-card major that they have. That's not exactly difficult. So in this instance, South would bid 2 hearts, which says, I have 4 hearts. It's possible that South could have 5 hearts if they're 5-3, 3-2, but don't worry about it. You've got 4 or more hearts. It's possible you have 5, but it tends to be 4 most of the time. Now you've found out, you've used this artificial bid to find out the information you needed. You found out that partner has 4 cards or more in hearts, which means you want to play in hearts, not no trumps. We're now in a position to bid the correct game. Because we still know game is on, because we've still got the right number of points, we're in a position to choose 4 hearts instead of 3 no trumps. And it's only because of this inquiry. So, this is all well and good, because what I've done is I've made it work. That's nice and easy, because I can dictate what happens, because obviously I don't have a hand in front of me. So in this instance, I've made it that we find a heart fit. So if they don't bid 2 hearts, because we aren't in Dreamland, where they don't have 4-card major that we want, and instead they've got 4 spades, they would bid 2 spades in response to 2 clubs. They don't know you're looking for hearts, they're just doing as they're told. Tend to find that's what you do as 1 no trumper, you just do as you're told. So we bid 2 spades as the 1 no trumper. Now from North's perspective, that is not what they wanted to hear. So they now know they want to be in game, but they know that there isn't a heart fit because their partner's got spades, not hearts. So you now revert back to normality, which is 3 no trumps. 3 no trumps is still not a good contract. But it is possible to be made now if the club finesse works, because you could have 4 of them, 1 of them is 5, and 4 of them is 9, in theory. I appreciate 3 no trumps is not a pretty contract though, because of the lack of diamonds. 4 hearts is not a good contract because you haven't got a heart fit. So in this instance, we're sort of in trouble, but we're going to bid game anyway because you don't know you're in trouble till you see that. But you would use Stayman. If a heart fit's found, great. If a heart fit's not found, you've got to go back to 3 no trumps. Okay. Happy so far? Yeah. So essentially, 2 clubs is now scrapped as clubs, and it's used as an artificial asking bid. All right. Now, how many points do you need to Stayman? There is a time where your partner doesn't have either 4-card major. They need to be able to do something over that. So 1 no trump, 2 clubs as Stayman. By the way, Stayman is an announceable bid, not an alertable bid, if you're interested in the rules. It's the most common conventional bid there is, so it's announced. When you bid 2 clubs, your partner says, oh, that's Stayman, so that everyone else on the table knows. Now, that is very, it's by the by, because everybody who plays bridge knows that it's Stayman, because everybody plays Stayman. However, it's still in the rules that you have to let your opponents know that you're up to something unusual, even though it's not unusual, if you see what I mean. So, 2 clubs by North. Now, as South, we can't bid 2 hearts or 2 spades because we haven't got a 4-card major. So there are 2 options. You either bid 2 no trumps, which says no, or you bid 2 diamonds, which says no. There are 2 options. Now, the reason we use 2 diamonds rather than 2 no trumps is because 2 no trumps takes up more room. So you might as well use 2 diamonds. This in itself is also an artificial bid, because 2 clubs says, have you got a 4-card major? 2 diamonds says no. There's a very useful step in between 2 clubs, 2 hearts and 2 spades are here. The step in between says, I don't have what you're looking for. Okay? In this instance, North has now got to bid again because South does not necessarily have more than 2 diamonds. And in this, yes, I appreciate I've set it up, but in this hand, 2 diamonds pass would be a very bad contract, most likely. So North has to bid again. However, North is probably displeased at this because they were probably looking for a heart or a spade fit. So in a sense, Stayman has failed. It's not failed because it has achieved what it's meant to achieve, in that it has found out there isn't a fit, but that's not necessarily good news. So what North has to do now is they have to return to some number of no trumps, whether that's 2 or 3, depending on their points. Notice you can't go back to 1. So that's where there's a catch, because to use Stayman you have to be able to tolerate 2 no trumps. So to be able to tolerate 2 no trumps, we really want about 11 or 12 points, because with 10 or fewer, 2 no trumps is, well, certainly with fewer than 10, you've got a problem in 2 no trumps. You want about 21 points to make 1 no trump, about 23 to make 2 no trumps, and about 25 to make 3 no trumps. That's the way that the points stack up. So this bid is 11 or 12, and this is 13 plus. You need somewhere to run if Stayman doesn't find a fit. I don't like the word fail because it fails to find a fit, but it's done its job. But if it doesn't find a fit, you need somewhere to go to because you can't leave them in diamonds. Well, you can, but you probably won't have a partner for very long. So you need to go somewhere. With that in mind, if you have a hand that is desperate to look for a 4-4 major fit but does not have enough points, now it's quite realistic to think that the opponents may well be bidding here. But again, I'm going to make an assumption that they're not because they've got trapped hands or whatever. But it's realistic to think they might be bidding. Now in this instance, you could bid Stayman. However, what do you do if partner bids 2 diamonds? If you bid Stayman and partner bids 2 diamonds, you are in a world of trouble. You've actually made the problem much worse, because now you have to go to 2 no trumps as your only safe spot. It's not safe, but it's safer than 2 diamonds. It's miserable, basically. If you do bid Stayman and your partner bids a major, you've got away with it, because you can pass and play in the major. But you tend to find, for some reason, that doesn't work when you try these dodgy Staymans. So you really need 11 or more points for Stayman to be able to return to 2 no trumps safely. If you did chance your arm, not that you should, but if you did chance your arm with Stayman, you are putting all your eggs in a major response basket. Because if they don't respond a major, you are wanting to crawl into a hole. Because with this hand, they bid 2 diamonds, and you've nowhere to run. You've magnified the problem massively. Because now when you bid 2 no trumps, if they bid 3 no trumps, you just... Okay? So, to bid Stayman, you need 11 or more points, and you need a 4-card major. If you don't have a 4-card major, there's no point in Stayman, because Stayman is only looking for 4-card major fits. So if you've got 3 or fewer, there's no point. If you've got 5 or more, you don't need to use Stayman either, because Stayman asks for 4-4 fits. That's what Stayman's job is. So with 5 or more cards in a major, you go back to normality. In this instance, we've got 5 cards in spades, and we want to be in game. So we just go back to normal responding to 1 no trump. 2 spades will be a weak takeout, so that's 2 weak. So we bid 3 spades, and that lets your partner choose. Do they want to be in 3 no trumps, or do they want to be in 4 spades? As ever, bidding a suit after no trumps is 5 cards. So it's the same thing. You don't need Stayman. You don't even need to know what Stayman is to bid this hand, because Stayman is only used for 4-4 fits. Okay, it's a very important point, because you can get Stayman frenzy, where you like this conventional bid because it's fancy, and then you start using it all over the place. You only need it if you've got a 4-card major. Okay? So in this instance, I would bid 3 spades, and partner should know, because you didn't bid 2 spades, you bid 3, you want to be in game. And then your partner makes the decision. If they have got 3 or more spades, they bid 4 spades. If they haven't got 3 or more spades, i.e. they've got 2, they bid 3 no trumps. Okay? Okay. What then do you do with 5 and 4? Do you A, bid 3 spades and look for a spade fit and forget you've got hearts? Or do you B, bid Stayman and fail to show a 5-card spade suit? Problem. So what you do is, there are essentially 2 ways of tackling this problem. You can bid spades and then bid hearts later, if you get another bid, which shows 5 and 4. Or you can bid Stayman first, and if Stayman doesn't find a fit, then bid more spades. So the reason I like Stayman first is because it solves a problem straight away if they bid the major. So again, Stayman is only used for 4-4 fits. So a question you can ask yourself is, do I have a 4-card major and enough points to bid Stayman? Because we have a 4-card major, yes, we have a longer major, but we have a 4-card major. Stayman is an applicable convention to use. So if you bid 2 clubs, what this does is this catches almost all of the fits. Because if partner has 4 hearts or 4 spades, you found your fit. If partner has 2 spades and 3 hearts, you don't have any fit. If partner has 3 spades and 2 or 3 hearts, you have a spade fit. So Stayman will only find you if you've got 4-4 or 5-4 in these, but it knocks out a lot of the fits. That's the idea of Stayman first. So with a 4-card major, even if you have a longer major outside, you can still use Stayman. Okay? With no 4-card major, whether your major is 5 or more or 3 or fewer, you don't need to use Stayman. So it's exactly 4-card majors. Now, if I bid 2 hearts or 2 spades as south, I've given myself an easy, it's not a problem, I've given myself an easy solution. Because whatever they bid, 2 hearts or 2 spades, I'm going to bid game in that suit. 4 hearts or 4 spades. So let's give me the problem. 2 diamonds is the nightmare response. Because we now know our partner hasn't got 4 hearts or 4 spades, but they could still have 3 spades. So we're not yet done fishing. The reason it's going to take us so long is because we've got so many majory cards. We need to fish and fish again. So in this instance, we need to bid spades, because bidding spades will still be a 5-card suit. However, if we bid 2 spades, that will look like a weak takeout again. So you've got to go 3 spades, which is exactly what you did without that 4th heart. You've just used Stayman first because you've got a 4th heart. Alright? The reason Stayman is so good is because it hardly consumes any room. You ask the question, you get the answer, and then if you need to do more bidding, you do so. So because you're bidding 3 spades now, you're showing 5 cards in spades. If you had 6 cards in spades, you could just bid 4 spades because you know there's a spade fit. Because 6 plus the minimum of 2 gets you your fit. So in this instance, you've looked for a 4-4 fit and then bid a 5-card suit. You must have 5 spades and 4 hearts for this bidding. Because if you didn't have 4 hearts, you wouldn't have bothered with Stayman. And if you didn't have 5 spades, you wouldn't have bothered bidding your spades just now. So the only possible shape is 5-4 and then some minors. 3-1, 2-2, whatever. Okay? This is the most complicated Stayman gets. Now I appreciate that is fairly complicated, but that's because you've got so much you need to talk about. You need to talk about a 4-4 fit here, a 5-4 fit here, or a 5-3 fit here. You've got a lot of things to talk about. You tend to find Stayman is more often used on hands like that, where the first response tells you everything you need to know. Have you got a 4-card major? No. Oh, that's a shame. 3 no trumps. Have you got a 4-card major? Yes. Woohoo, game in the major. Okay? That is as simplistic as Stayman is, but it feels complex because you're doing something artificial, which is not natural. You wouldn't naturally bid 2 clubs with this hand ever, I don't imagine. So, when you are playing with a partner, you need to have agreed that we are playing Stayman. This is something that is on, because you can't sometimes play it, sometimes not. It's either happening or it's not. Okay? So it's an agreement. You will tend to find the more and more you play, the better and better you get. Stayman is considered as red. You don't even have to say it because it's such a staple of a convention.